Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. It is Tease Me Tuesday once again, and I am Heather from Heather's Fashion Academy. I am your neighborhood sexuality and intimacy coach. So thank you guys for joining me so much tonight. So as you saw the title of tonight's show, because we're gonna get right into it. The title of tonight's show is These Don't Sound Like Clippers. And the reason why I decided to do that title was because in the past I've seen several memes like, "Hey sis, get you a man because your bedroom can't sound like a barbershop every night and everything." And I think that's cute and all, but to be honest, let's just talk a little bit about you know it's a funny meme, but at the same time, I feel like I needed to go ahead and address it. One of the things that I need to talk about is why um, people with clitorises, why women or people with clitorises use um, just bedroom enhancements. And one of the reasons why is because when you're talking about the clitoris, you're talking about 8,000 nerve endings. And in those 8,000 nerve endings, all of the time you don't get a lot of stimulation, maybe from your partner. It's a lot easier to stimulate those nerve endings with a little bit of help, say, a little bit of um, external stimulation. So whether that is with finger, a tongue, or anything like that, that's where you need to get that stimulation from. So, it's nice to know that, and especially when we're talking about heterosexual relationships, a lot of times there is a intimidation factor that happens when we talk about bringing in um, adult toys to the bedroom. A lot of times there are the mindset that, guys always say, "Hey, I don't need that. I can do whatever. You don't need these things. And I can do everything and I can be your everything." And the truth of the matter is, yes and no, you could. A lot of times, still, when you're talking about, 80% of the population that own clitorises, we're talking about those clitorises still need that external stimulation, regardless of how good, you may be. Sometimes it is mental, other times it's just the type of stimulation that happens within those organs. And a lot of times people get like really upset about that. They want to say, you guys are just leaning on toys and you just rather have that instead of a human connection. And none of that has to do with why we like toys. Sometimes we like them because we just like them. It's fun. And then sometimes we like them because it does something different than a human can do. So you have to think about all of those different factors and everything when you're talking about um, incorporating those adult novelty items into your um, everyday sex life. A lot of times people just are afraid to just say, "I want to try something new as well." The thing about it is that we like a lot of variety, especially in the vaginal area, because sometimes your body gets used to a certain type of vibration or a certain movement or a certain type of, anything. And sometimes you just kind of need that extra to, just add some things to it. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with adding a little bit of, you know, enhancement. I also want to take this time and thank my Instagram family for joining us tonight. They're joining me on another um, platform over here. So, hey y'all, how y'all doing? And like I told them before, I told y'all, if y'all have any questions, y'all go ahead and add those in the chat. If not, I'm gonna go roll with what I got because that's what I do. I'm also just setting it up a little bit for me, just to make sure that I can see everything and everybody from every place. So if you're watching and you're seeing me, let me know where you're watching from. Instagram, I know where you're watching from, but everyone else know where you're watching from. So, we can see and say hello to everyone. I'd love to send a shout out to those of you who are supporting tonight. I know it's late, but here it is. It's late night topic for, late night stuff. We want to make sure our kiddos are asleep. So we definitely want to just say hey to everybody. But again, I also just want to make sure that you guys can, have something to listen to right before you go to bed. So I'm trying to make sure that my Facebook page is actually showing. I do see it that it's showing. some other pages, but we'll deal with that later. Okay, so let's get into it, you guys. Let's talk about those things that do not sound like clippers. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with a loud vibrator. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think again, going back to the intimidation factor, a lot of times when you're talking about partners being open to using items, if there's a certain sound, if there's a certain shape, if there's a certain, some of everything, people tend to have a little bit of an issue with those particular items. And I want you guys, and nothing can of a human. But at the same token, there are things that machines can do that humans can't. You're talking about stamina, you're talking about consistency, you're talking about being able to just go when you're ready to go. Those things all play a part in why we like using those particular things. Absolutely, again, nothing wrong with wanting to use those things. There's nothing that is going to affect you physically. Will you get used to a certain sound or feeling? You will be used to it to the point where you may want to rely on it because you know it'll get you to that point of orgasm. But will it desensitize you? No, if you're worried about being desensitized by toys, if that's one of the things your partner is worried about, guess what you can do? You can lay off that toy for a couple of days, maybe a week, and then you can come back to it. So let's not get wrapped up in things like that because I know those are things that, people have genuine concerns about. But I also want to, just kind of let folks know that that's something that is not as concerning as you think it would be. Those are the things that are more so fears. And as we've learned, I've learned this from some of our other other experts, you know, fear isn't fact, and feelings aren't fact. So how you feel about something very much has a lot to do with your experience of it. So you may decide that, this may not work for me because of, whatever the case may be, or but still don't take the opportunity to take something from your partner who may very much enjoy using those particular things in order to help them achieve what they need to achieve in a intimate setting. So if that's something that you need to address with your partner, talk about how you feel about it more so than what they can and can't do because we're all adults. And so we want to all be able to, have a very positive experience when you're talking about using items and especially wanting to share something with your partner. So, I just always want to make sure that I am I'm letting you know this is something that, you need to maybe address in a way that isn't, um, you may be offended by it, but, you know, yeah. Let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and grab the first item here. And I think I'm gonna start. Yeah, let's go ahead and start with the queen. Let me move my camera over here. Um, all right. So going over here, and like I say, Instagram people, this is a good time for you to go and follow me on YouTube so you guys can see what I'm talking about and how I'm talking about it. Thank y'all for joining us. So as you see here, this is the queen. The queen is pretty much an external stimulating, vibrating type of product. What it does is these little tongues here. I like to call them tongues because it kind of reminds me of a fork. Um, but what this does is this gives you a good amount of stimulation right over that clitoral area. So if your clitoris, even if it's a unexposed, a hidden clitoris, even if you just pull a little bit of skin back so that you can, get that right around that clitoris, what that's going to do is give this stimulation around the clitoris. So one of the things that you can do is you can turn this thing on. I like this because, of course, everything I'm going to show you today is rechargeable. So there's nothing here that's going to need batteries. They're ready to go when you are, as long as you do everything you need to do as far as cleaning them, making sure they stay charged, things like that. I really like this one in particular because of the way it's shaped. I like this one also because it's strong without being super loud and without being, like a lot of people say their hands shake a lot, but I just wanna show you just holding it in my hand, like, how much power this one has. These are different types of motors that we've started to incorporate in a lot of other toys. As technology starts to kind of do more research on what's needed in order to stimulate a clitoris, more so, there's more technology that goes into whisper quiet motors, motors that are stronger, motors that do a little bit more penetrative work. So vibration, happens in different ways. You can have that penetration, the penetrative vibration, and then you can have that kind of I call it the wave effect, which will kind of give you a little bit more coverage as far as how you feel, how much vibration it's kind of like dropping a pebble into water and it just kind of spreads out a little bit. So I think that this is a good product, especially if you don't want to be penetrated. A lot of people have issues with being penetrated by toys, but you still want to have that same effect where you have a good time. It's doing everything that you need it to do. This is one of the good ones for that. I also like it because it is ergonomical. So when you're holding it, it kind of reminds you like holding a mouse in your hand, right? And the other thing that I like about that is because you can actually hold it and you can control it while being penetrated. So if you're a person that has, a clitoris and you are being, there is a fly in my room, if you are being penetrated by a penis, toy, or whatever else, this can actually be out of the way and just go straight to the clitoris while you're being penetrated by those other objects or people. So it does help with that. If you press down, if you're talking about, making sure that you have good G spot stimulation, this also works well as far as that's concerned because it pushes right in to that G spot if you're holding it over that pubic area. And what that does is it also causes the G spot to become, stimulated as well from the outside and not the inside. And it also helps to push along those orgasms. So you're talking about maybe if you're a person that takes you, longer than say, 5, 10 minutes to orgasm. Now this is, maybe moves you to a point where it only takes 30 seconds to a couple of minutes. So, you're talking about also, having a good quality of time when you're talking about orgasm. So I really, one of my favorites to talk about, it's easy to maneuver, it's easy to work with, things like that. So moving on over to, one of the ones that everybody always talks about. It looks like a microphone, right? This is the Bewitch Me, and it's a one. Again, it's rechargeable. Now, what most people remember a lot of times about these particular ones, this one here, is that back in the day, people used to have, and they still have them, the ones that they were operated, they were plug-in. They like, and they were much bigger than this. But this gives you the same amount of power as those without it being oversized. Again, it doesn't make as much noise, but it does, in fact, cover a lot of area just with the head of this particular product. Now, what it also does is it bends and it moves a little bit, so you can position it wherever you need to position it in order to get that type of stimulation that you need. The other thing about it is that it doesn't have to be exclusive to the genital area as far as this one's concerned. This one actually can be used in different other areas as far as using it on just your erogenous zones. Thinking about nipple play, things like that. You can use this on the scrotum. You can use this up and down the shaft of the penis just to get some things started. Sometimes the penis needs a little bit of stimulation as well. This also gives a nice little sensation if you put it right at the perineum and you're talking about having a little anal play or even rectal play. So it does a lot of good coverage as far as that's concerned. You could pair this with a good massage oil. You can pair this with um, a warming lubricant, and it'll get the job done. And it just has a good amount. First of all, the texture of these clothes are really nice. Now, in my hand, I done burnt my hand this week cooking, touching stuff, touching hot pot. But what I really like about it is So you have that coverage. There's, as you see, it covers a lot more than most items would cover. Again, a lot of people don't like to be penetrated, and that's fine. So this is something that's a little bit versatile. Your partner can use it with you, and it wouldn't be as intimidating as say using something that is shaped like a penis. A lot of times we do talk about those items that are mostly not shaped like penises because when it comes to couples, especially heterosexual couples, a lot of times people are um, will find that the person with the penis is a little bit more intimidated by objects that are shaped like penises, and it gives them a little bit of pause to use these items. But like I tell people, a lot of times you may want to try those things because of the benefit for you. Because if your partner is relaxed and stimulated, you'll get a much better result from them than not using those things or trying to restrict them from using something like this. So Bewitch Me is a really nice one. Again, this is under $100, so it's only $99. So if you're looking to invest in something to add to your, um, to add to your closet, your special stash, then this is one that would be absolutely great for that. At this point, let me do this. I'm going to let my Instagram people go. Thank you so much, Instagram, for joining us tonight. Come on over to Heather's Passion Academy, either on Facebook or on YouTube, and join the party there. Thank y'all so much. I'm just going to come on out of here. Um, so now we're going to go ahead and let me download that video because I'm going to go ahead and use it later. So the other thing is we're talking about toys. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. I know it's late night and folks going back to work. I'm so still used to everybody being in quarantine and all that stuff. So I'm still a late bird. So those of you who are joining tonight, thank you so much. I don't see this at all on my personal page. I see that it showed up on my business page. So I'm going to have to share this so that it can show up on my private page as well. Y'all bear with me just a second, and I'm going to share this right over to share to my over here to my profile. So other things that we were talking about, y'all. Thank y'all for joining. I see a couple of more people have joined over here. Thank you so much. If you have any comments, like I said, post them in the comment section. I'll try to get to them. Um, so I don't know why it's not allowing me to share to my actual Facebook page. I'm not really sure about that. If someone could just share that to my page, and I will. There it is. Okay. So, um, going on, let's talk more about the items that don't sound like clippers. So I'm gonna leave the last one. I'm gonna leave this one. Okay, so here's the other thing. There are, again, when we're talking about using things, the biggest issue that most people have, or that most people are not really addressing, is that a lot of times when we're talking using items, people get stuck in the why. The why is many times when you're talking about, and I'm gonna just throw out some other things because that's what I'm doing here in neighborhood sexuality. One of the other things is we're talking about the pleasure gap. If you're talking about heterosexual relationships, many times when you're talking about the pleasure gap, and I'm going to explain to you what that means, it means that there is a large gap in how, um, again, in heterosexual relationships, where men are having orgasms or being able to ejaculate versus women being able to orgasm and ejaculate. And what you think typically within a session with men and women together, everyone should be experiencing the same amount or similar amounts of pleasure. More often than not, women are not experiencing those levels of pleasure because they are not being properly stimulated. All of the everything in the world could sometimes not be enough. That's why it's important to educate yourself as far as things, these other enhancements are concerned. So your lubricants, you may be dry, add some lubricant. you may be not readily stimulated, but could, jumpstart by using something. So this is the opportunity to use those things. Um, Also, there may be just some other, outside factors that you may not be aware of, and maybe that person may not be aware of them as well. So this is where you can kind of fill in those gaps. The other thing is when we're talking about the pleasure gap, we're talking about 95% of men or people with penises being able to ejaculate when they're in a situation with someone with a vagina. So 95% of people with penises are able to ejaculate versus about 60 or 50%. Or I think it's even less than that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that number's less than that. So when you're talking about if you are with your partner and you guys, out of every 10 times you're doing it, uh, the person with the vagina, she or they are only getting to about 5 times out of 10 where they're actually able to, climax versus the person with the penis, 9 times out of 10 are able to make it to orgasm. That is a problem. And a lot of people don't see that as a problem because it's something that we don't talk about as much because we're afraid that, a lot of things are not being answered. That's why foreplay is very important. That's why, external stimulation is very important if you can make it to the point where you can get that person with the vagina stimulated to the point where they're almost ready to orgasm, and then you can start penetrating. You may actually be able to do that with toys, or you may be actually you may be able to get more than one orgasm out of that person. How wonderful would that be? So let's talk a little bit, especially about since we're talking about stimulating for orgasm. Let's talk a little bit about the womanizer, which is one of my most favorite to show when we're talking about stimulation for clitoral. Um, Definitely clitoral stimulation. One thing about the womanizer is very easy to use. This is the thing. Those of you who are familiar with things like that rose, any of those sucking toys, things like what those do is they pull in the clitoris and allow the clitoris to swell and become aroused and become very stimulated within the usage of that suction chamber. Now, why is that important? It's important because when you are doing that, when you are pulling in that suction and you're actually not touching that area, it allows for you to not be so sensitive that multiple orgasms are possible. A lot of times when you do a lot of rubbing and you do a lot of things like that, that makes it super sensitive to touch. And so when that suction happens, you can actually allow for more stimulation to happen within a period of time. So when you're talking about refractory period of being able to, uh, orgasm, it helps with that refractory period. The other thing, I'm gonna stop doing it just a little bit. Okay, so the other thing is, as you see that light right there, these actually, the womanizer, this particular type is $129, but it has two different suction chambers that come with it. So this is a different head. So one is more round and the other more oblong. And what that does is allows you to have more fitted type of connection to this so that you can, you know, make sure that you are getting the best fit possible. The other thing is what you always want to remember is to use a little bit of lube right around this rim, and then you want to make sure you're also applying lubricant to the clitoris itself so that you'll get a good amount of suction because it's just like a suction cup, right? You don't take a suction cup and just stick it on the wall. You do have to moisturize it. You have to add that moisture in order to make it kind of create that suction. And what that does is a little vacuum. You just turn it on and off here, and then you also have your speed. So you can actually press that up. It has 6 different speeds. It can be very strong. I love this because you can use this underwater. Usually, when I show this one, I usually have a thing of water here so you can see that it still works underwater. So this is waterproof. You can use this in the tub. Don't be using it in hot water. I'm using it like maybe not in the pool, but you can use this in all kind of places. But I really like this one again because you can handle it this way. You can hold it. You can see you can hold it this way. That way, your partner can again while you're stimulating that clitoral area, they can be stimulating the actual vaginal area around the labia and things like this. Again, that suction works well for nipple stimulation. So that's for either partner. If you wanted to make sure that you are stimulating each other on different parts of the body, this is a great way to do it. Um, so that's one thing I do like about it. Again, you just hold that button down for 3 seconds and you just turn it off just like that. That makes it really easy for usability. So the other thing, that's what am I? Okay, really good. I'm almost done. So the other thing that I wanted to show you guys was the Wii Vibe, which is one of my favorites to show because it is a couple's item and it is something that penetrates, but you can use this while being penetrated as well. So when you're talking about using um, a couple's toy, this is the one that I'll always kind of point to for my couples to let them know this is something that you can incorporate with a partner so that they can get used to using something, but they also can see how this works for you. I'm gonna put on. Let me go ahead and go back to this. So this is the way that the Wii Vibe is made. As you see, it has the logo, the Wii Vibe logo on it. I love this one because the way it's shaped, that C shape allows for it to be inserted vaginally. As you see, the little flat part here is what we're going to be concerned about. It's going to be inserted vaginally, and this goes directly up against the G spot. So if the G spot is spacing out, it's 2 to 3 inches on the inside of the opening of the vagina. So it's right there. So this gives you a pretty good maximum amount of coverage as far as the G spot is concerned. G spot goes from about a pea size to about a half dollar size when it's aroused. Also, what you're looking at here with the top part here, there's a motor here, there's a motor here. Um, yeah. So there's a motor here, there's a motor here. And so if you're inserting that into the vagina, so just goes right up against the G-spot, just goes right up against the clitoris, and then as you're being penetrated by either a penis or another toy, you're getting a lot of stimulation right there. You can be stimulated in many ways. The other thing I like about this, once this is inserted, you turn it on and you can use the remote. And the remote gives you different patterns, so you may find a pattern that works best for you. It has about 6 or 7 different patterns that you can kind of go through. You can power through them and figure out which one works for you. I don't know if you can really see it, but like it's showing, it's kind of vibrating towards those different patterns and everything. So what I really like about this is an experience that you can have with your partner, so that if they, have issues about you using toys, well, I don't want you using them because you're going to replace me. No, 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 come on, join us. Let's just do this together. So that gives you a lot of options, and that's one thing that I do like. Again, it's very quiet. I have it up on high. Can't even hear it through you have to take my way up to my microphone in order to hear it. But these are things that can just enhance those different experiences that you have with a partner. So never feel afraid to add some items into the bedroom, especially things that may or may not sound like clippers. Sis may want to sound like a barbershop and have the experience of a man. And sometimes you just don't want to deal with nobody else. Sometimes you just really need to handle some business so you can go to sleep. It's not all the time about all those other things. Sometimes, and I know it's all jokes and everything, but I always find a reason to incorporate it in what I do. So, yeah, guys, everything that I showed you tonight, everything was $129 or less. So, with the items that I showed you, the Wii Vibe, I showed you the Bewitch Me, I showed you the Queen, and then also the Womanizer. So this was the most expensive. This is the best investment you're gonna have for $130. Everything else, these two are 99, boom, boom, and then you have a $79 product. And then always just remember to use lube. Always remember to use a cleanser specifically clean toys, not, soap and water. A lot of times you need something that breaks down those proteins and makes sure that you don't have bacteria growth happening after you use those toys. The toy cleanser is really good for that. You just spray it, you wipe it, it's ready to go. And make sure that you don't, throw all that extra stuff. And then you make sure that you keep it in a bag. Most of these items nowadays come with some type of pouch to protect it from dirt and lint. And then other times, these are products that you can always purchase a bag or have someone make you one. as long as it's like a satin bag or something like that, something or silk that'll keep it, in the antibacterial. You want something antibacterial to make sure that the toys don't, grow bacteria. That's what you wanna make sure you're doing, and then also, you just wanna make sure that you're being safe, if you're gonna have multiple partners, use a condom with your toys so that you're not cross-contaminating. Make sure you're using body safe silicone. Everything that I show you today is medical grade silicone, so that means that it's not gonna be porous, it's not gonna be adding it's not gonna be opening up and, that jelly stuff that you see a lot of those are not good for the body. So you wanna make sure that you're using something, that's also safe to play with as far and then also fun. Um, I think that was it. One day I might actually do a Tease Me Tuesday and do a Tease Me Tuesday tarot and toys. That's a lot of teas right there. And then we'll talk about that, how to incorporate, a little bit of sex into your sexual escapades. But anyway, hopefully y'all had fun with me tonight. Thank you all for joining me. And I surely do appreciate your time. Again, I'm Heather with Heather's Passion Academy. I am your neighborhood sexuality and intimacy coach. And I look forward to you guys joining me next time on Tease Me Tuesday. If you have any questions, you have a Q&A that you want me to answer, I'll answer it here as well. I love to do that. It is my goal to make sure that everyone has the right amount of education, the right amount of entertainment, and then also just making sure that everyone feels safe and protected in their sexual spaces so that they'll be able to talk, to communicate with whether or not it's with a partner or even with your kids. You'll have the information that you need to move forward and be happy about the information that you have. So anyway, thank y'all so much, and I will see you next time. I think. Get out of here.